So do you want to start with the reading, Mama?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, Jai Baba.
Meher Baba ki jai. Three of Meher Baba's favorite couplets of Hafiz, a mystical Persian poet, befitting fortunate slave. Uh, I am on the mobile. I am unable to read, I think. Carry out every command of the master without any question of it. Why and what about what you hear from the master. Never say it is wrong because, my dear, the fault lies in your own incapacity to understand him. I am slave of the master who has released me from ignorance. Whatever my master does is of the highest benefit to all concerned. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. Hello.
I was talking on mute, sorry. So I said,
Okay, okay.
thanks for reading. And how's your vision? I know you said you were under
Ah,
some treatment a couple of weeks back.
ah,
How's that
ah,
back to
ah.
normal?
Normal, okay. But in the
Okay.
mobile, it is so small now to read now.
Hey,
Prajwal has
so,
occupied my room, so I am disturbed a bit.
oh, okay. All right. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are at chapter 9. We continue that reading and we stopped at the last place. I think it was, we read about Hyderabad, Aurangabad, and now it's Dehradun to Mahabaleshwar. So let me read for a bit and then we can rotate,
Okay.
given that you also said you had some mobile uh, visibility stuff. Okay.
Sure.
Avtar Meher Baba ki jai. From Dehradun to Mahabaleshwar. In early February 1946, Baba flew with a few of the women, left Mehrabad Hill for a peaceful 2.5 month stay at Mehrazad. Then in mid-April of that same year, Mehera, Mani and Mehru traveled with Baba to Dehradun via Delhi for a 7.5 month stay. They were later joined by some of the women at Mehrabad. During this time, Baba was very involved in his must work, and because he did not want to be disturbed, the whereabouts of his household was not generally known. Baba's bungalow was located on Saharanpur, a main road just outside Dehradun, and one that served as the bus route from Delhi to Dehradun. The Delhi bus stopped in front of this bungalow, and this was very convenient for Baba as he often traveled by bus to Delhi to make train connections for his must work throughout India. While in Dehradun, Baba was constantly going on must tours, returning to Saharanpur Road for only a few days before he was off on must tours again. In June, Baba took a few of the women and men to Kulu Valley and later to Simla. They also attended the Haridwar Mela. At the end of November 1946, just before the cold set in, Baba moved his ashram from Dehradun to Mahabaleshwar, where they stayed for the next 6 months. At the beginning of 1946, so the italics is the editor's notes. So this is the background. The period is 1946, and this is the stay at Dehradun, from where Baba did his must tours, which we covered in detail in Ved Paras. So now it's back to Mehra's first person voice. At the beginning of 1946, Mani, myself, and Mehru traveled with Baba from Ahmednagar to Dehradun, while the others who later joined us, Rano, Kitty, Margaret, Naja, Katie, and Kaushal, came in two separate groups. Irene had already returned to Switzerland, and after a short time with us in Dehradun, Margaret returned to England. Our bungalow, though on a main road, was very quiet, for there was so little traffic in those days. Our bedrooms were on the upper floor, our first story, as we call it, of the house, and Baba slept downstairs on the ground floor. When Baba was with us, those girls staying in the room over Baba's had to be very, very quiet so as not to disturb him. The bungalow had electricity but no running water, and this was rather inconvenient for us as our water had to be carried to the house from a well in the garden. The garden was very big, especially the back garden, which had in it a guava orchard that sloped all the way to the boundary at a dry river bed. While we were there, the guavas were ready for harvesting, and these ripe fruits attracted many bats. To scare them away, the servants would bang on tins, making a terrific noise. And if Baba was home doing some seclusion work, this noise would disturb him. We called this bungalow Pipi's bungalow after the gardener's wife. The landlord had employed a gardener to care for the compound and the guavas, and the gardener's wife helped us with carrying the water and so on. This woman had a most unusual voice. She talked through her nose more than anyone we had ever met. We nicknamed her Pipi, and so the bungalow became known to us as Pipi's bungalow. One day, we found out that although Pipi and the Mali had two children, they had never been married. This is what had happened. In India, marriages are usually arranged by the parents. Pipi's parents had married her to a man who must have mistreated her, so Pipi left this man and ran away with the Mali. And all this time, she had lived with him as his wife and had given him two children. They had never married because amongst villagers, one has to feed the whole village in order to be considered married. Pipi's parents had already strained their meager resources to the limit for her marriage, and they then had disowned her for running off with the Mali. So poor Pipi could not afford another wedding. When Baba heard they were not married, he told them, "It's not at all good for you to live together like this. You must get married." So Pipi got dressed up like a young bride and married her Mali, while her two children looked on and Baba paid for the wedding. Pipi was so happy to be finally be married. Pipi was so happy to finally be married. I just need to take a pause for 30 seconds, please. Okay, so let me read again from Katie and Kitty. Yeah, Katie and Kitty and Khurshid took turns with the cooking, each taking a week at a time, and Mehru and I helped to clean and chop the vegetables. In Dehradun, a girl named Indu stayed with us, and she was a great help with the cooking, taking her weekly turn with the others. Baba had known Indu's father in the very early years when Baba had had a toddy shop in Pune. At that time, this man had worked on a toddy palm plantation, and Vishnu Master had very kindly kept him and his family at his house in Pune. Through Vishnu Master and his mother Kaku, this family kept in touch with Baba over the years. So we knew Indu when she joined us. Indu was with us, I believe, until we went to Satara in late 1947, when she decided to return to Pune for her studies. Those were very happy days in Dehradun. Baba allowed me to go for walks, to read library books, and listen to the radio. And at night, we saw fireflies in the garden. Sometimes we walked down to the end of the garden to that dry riverbed, and one day we saw some real gypsies there, the kind that roam in high mountains of Afghanistan. They were so proud looking and so colorfully dressed that we were fascinated by them. And Keki Nalawala from Dehradun, who had just met and begun to follow Baba, gave Baba a radio. We listened to the BBC and heard a program we called Yes, No. It was a kind of contest. The quiz master tried to trick the contestants into saying yes or no in answer to his questions, and if the contestant managed to last for a certain time without answering yes or no, he won. It is not easy not to answer yes to questions such as, "Did you have breakfast?" And it was great fun to listen to it. Anybody remembers this TV show from BBC? I think it's too young for me, but if anybody remembers, we can talk about it. And I
No,
think
I
Keki
don't.
Nalawala, you don't remember? Okay. But I do remember listening to BBC on the shortwave. There used to be medium wave and there used to be shortwave.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
on the shortwave, I used to listen to BBC and Ceylon radio. Ceylon was another popular one at home. Ceylon was coming from Sri
Yes.
Lanka. It used to be SLBC, Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that is the radio days, and that makes me feel old. Now, Keki Nalawala is, I think, the husband of Preni Nalawala, who lived in Bangalore for her last years, and she passed away, I think, a couple of years back. It was in Shantinagar. So I think this Nalawala is Preni Auntie's husband and the father of the publisher of Glow, who is uh, Nausharwan Nalawala, right? Who's in New York, New Jersey. Okay, let's continue. Walking in the garden when we felt like it, reading library books and listening to the radio might seem like small things, but to us at that time, they were great luxuries. There were other treats too: a trip to Kulu Valley, a visit to the Hardwar Mela, and a short holiday in Simla, all with Baba. Now, I'm not sure. I think it was the special trip to Haridwar, which is covered in detail in Mehrabad, in Wayfarers. If you remember, towards the end of the book, there is a prominent trip to Haridwar where Baba made contact with hundreds of yogis. And given that this period is 1946, I'm sure that what Mehra is referring to here as just a visit to the Mela was very significant from Baba's work standpoint, because that's where he made contact with the yogis, right? So that's some overlap here. Kulu Valley. Now, this is the little holiday because she talks about a holiday in Simla. Kulu Valley. We had been in Dehradun a little over a month when Baba took a few of us to Katrain in Kulu Valley. From the women's side, there were Mani, myself, Mehru, and Rano. And from the men, I think only Dr. Donkin, Kakabaria, who did the cooking, and Baidul. So the must hunters are here, Baidul and Donkin. As we were always quite separate from the men mandali, I never quite knew who was with Baba from the men's side. On the journey to Kulu, Rano became very ill. One of the places at which we broke our trip was Mandi, where we stopped at a dark bungalow. Rano had completely lost her appetite, and Baba, who was usually very kind and loving when we were sick, told her to eat a huge plate of curry and rice. Poor Rano felt so awful. She was almost in tears, but she obeyed Baba and ate the food, and then immediately left the room and was sick. When we reached Katrain, Dr. Donkin told her she had infectious hepatitis, so she could not stay with us. Nearby, there was a cowshed with two little rooms over it, so Rano stayed there and had a beautiful view of Kulu Valley while she was recuperating. So, has anybody heard of this place called Katrain? Maybe there's a newer name for it. I'll just look it up on Google and then put it out. Katrain. No, it's called Katrain even now. It's Katrain. One second, let me bring the window here. So Katrain is in Himachal near Dharmashala. And where is Kulu? So it must be the same place. So this is close to Dharamshala, and Dharamshala is in Himachal, and you get the general idea of what's going on. Okay, 1 second, I'm going to sneeze now. Ran, Okay. Rano recovered very quickly, and Donkin told her that it was the lightest case of hepatitis he had seen. At that time, there was no special treatment for hepatitis, and many people died from it. Baba then reminded Rano of the meal he had made her eat in Mandi and told her that because she had obeyed him and eaten it, her illness had been lightened. Wow. Kulu Valley is very beautiful, and because of its high snow-capped mountains and pine forests, it is often compared to Switzerland. Baba liked it very much. We stayed in a cottage surrounded by huge pine trees on the mountainside above a village called Katrain. In those days, Katrain was a very small village, and food had to be brought to us on horseback. There was no road for cars or bicycles, and to reach our cottage, we had to either walk up the mountainside or ride on hired mountain ponies. Baba was so sweet. He knew how I loved to ride, and as these mountain ponies were there for hire, Baba thought this would be a good opportunity for me to go riding. So he told Donkin to hire some ponies for us and that they were to be at our cottage at 4 p.m. Well before 4, we were waiting with Baba for the ponies to come. The horsemen, however, were simple villagers with no sense of time. We waited, and still they did not come. Baba was getting impatient, and he began sending messages to Dr. Donkin. Why haven't the horses come? Did you give them the proper message? Be sure you scold them when they do come. The horsemen, with their horses, finally arrived nearly an hour late. Dr. Donkin immediately began to scold them. I do not know exactly what Donkin said, but he did order them to take their horses and go. The horsemen were poor people, and the hire money meant so much to them. No matter what Dr. Donkin said, they refused to leave, and they kept begging him to forgive them. They even placed their turbans on Donkin's feet as if to say, we bow down to you, so please forgive us. Now, Donkin himself got caught up in the dressing down he was handing out, and instead of staying calm, he started to feel quite angry. Suddenly, Baba clapped. Why are you getting so angry? He asked Donkin. What is the need for it? I told you to scold them. I didn't tell you to get angry. Wow. This was like dashing cold water in Dr. Donkin's face, and he realized his mistake. Baba had wanted him to act as if he were angry, but not to feel anger. Of course, Baba took pity on these villagers. He hired their ponies after all. Mehera, you pick the horse you like, then Mani can choose one for herself, and then Mehru, he told us. Baba was planning to walk while we rode, but how could we enjoy our ride with Baba on foot? Baba, I said, we would like it so much if you could also ride. So Baba agreed, and he picked the quietest pony for himself, and off we went for our ride. Baba's horse went at a gentle walk, and he was happy that I had a good horse and enjoyed my ride. In the mornings, we went for walks with Baba. We noticed that the women of this region were very good looking. But when we looked at them more closely, we saw that many of them had large swellings at the base of their necks. They had goiter, and this was because their only source of water was from the melted snow and ice from the mountain peaks. This icy water came down the mountains in rivulets, and from these little streams, the villagers took waters for their households. Goiter is caused by an iodine deficiency, and there is no iodine in this water. One day, while we were walking with Baba, a woman came towards him. She showed Baba her goiter and asked him for medicine. Baba gave her a bottle of iodine drops to help treat her condition. Another morning, while on our walk, Baba saw a sadhu in ochre colored clothes walking quickly along the path ahead of us, but some distance away. Baba wanted to contact this sadhu, and he sent money to run after him to tell him, my brother wants to meet you. Baba then had us move out of sight so that he could contact the sadhu alone. He said that we must not look at their meeting. After Baba finished his work with this man, he returned to us. The next day on our walk, when we came back to the same place along the path, we saw the same sadhu coming towards us. As soon as Baba saw the sadhu, he had us quickly turn around and walk away so that Baba would not meet him. And the next time we went walking again, we saw this sadhu, and again Baba had us turn and take another road so that he and Baba would not meet. We had to walk very quickly to avoid him. It was like hide and seek. Baba told us that the sadhu had recognized him and who he was, and he again wanted Baba's darshan and contact. However, Baba had finished his work with this sadhu, and no more contact was needed. Baba told us that this man was a genuine sadhu, and so he could work with him. Okay, so how about we rotate the reading a little bit? Sunil, are you in a position to read? Is it okay for you to read for some time? No, so I'll continue. I know Sanjay ji, I think, is driving, so I will not bother him. Just before we left, just give me 1 30-second break again.
Yeah, well, Karthik, sorry, I was moving about. Did you call my name?
He is unmute. He will come back.
Yes, I'm
Oh,
back. Sunil, I just want to
Sunil,
check
I
if
just
you
want to
wanted to
check if
read,
you wanted to read. Yes,
but it's okay if
okay,
you
I can
can't.
read. I can, I can, I can. I just
Oh,
need a
okay.
bigger screen. If you can give me just 5 minutes, I'll put up my laptop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me when you're ready.
Tell
I'll
me
keep
when you're
reading
ready.
till
I'll
then.
keep reading till then. All right.
Just before we
Just
left, another funny incident happened. A local woman who said she was being badly treated by her husband was sent to our house by Baba. Baba felt pity for her and he told us to give her some work and to look after her for our few remaining days in Katrine. We were a little surprised by this woman. She was nice and plump, well dressed, and well fed, and she smoked cigarettes all day long. To us, she did not look at all ill treated, but Baba had his reasons for sending her to us. So we kept her with us, but she did not do any work, neither washing clothes, nor sweeping, nor any household work at all. Baba also wanted this woman to share our lunch. Now, lunch was brought up to us from the men's mandali's quarters down below, and as it was being carried up that steep mountainside with great difficulty, just enough to go around was sent. There was not enough to spare for the other servants, so at lunchtime, Baba would send Mehru to find this woman and to serve her food quietly so that the other servants who had brought their lunch would not feel jealous of her. Baba had his reasons too for feeding her. As we were leaving Kulu Valley, Baba took us to Manali, a village further up Kulu Valley than Katrine and deeper in the mountains. To get there, we went by a local bus along the road that followed the course of a lovely, fast flowing river. There was room for us on the bus, but Dr. Donkin had to be very firm with the bus driver, who at first was reluctant to let us all on. The scenery was very beautiful. From Manali, we climbed on foot still further and higher up the valley to a small village which I believe is called Vashisht. There were a few farmers' houses there and a natural hot spring with a beautiful steaming pond in which people could bathe. Baba asked us to wait while he went to contact a must nearby. That shows Baba knows everything. He knew there was a must in Vashisht, and that is why he brought us to Manali. As always, Baba did his work and sightseeing together. We then returned to Dehradun. Now, this is Haridwar. Um, at one point, actually, let's compare the dates if it's not very complicated. We'll spend a minute or lesser than that. So let us, now I'm opening. Okay, so there's no mention of Vashisht, but let's see Haridwar. So this is 1939. This is 1941 trip to Haridwar. Then 42. This must be the one. Haridwar, 1946, July and August. And here we don't have months, but there you go. So, and the way it's done, Haridwar, or is this in the inset? Simla, okay, where is Haridwar? Yeah, Rishikesh, Haridwar. So, Vashisht is not mentioned, but this must be the trip that Baba, Mehra is talking
Karthik,
about.
Vashisht is in Manali. Vashisht is in Manali.
Oh, near Manali, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it is in Manali. When you
Kulu,
make a
Kulu,
Manali
Kulu ke
trip,
pas. Kulu ke pas.
yeah,
Kulu ke
Manali
pas.
city, it is very close to the Manali city actually.
Oh, there
They
it is.
take you
There it
there.
is. Can you see
Yeah.
this? A sadhu at the hot spring, 1946, 6 June. So it matches perfectly to what Mehra is saying. Thank you, Sanjay ji. A sadhu at the hot spring above Manali, nothing special. Manali lies at the head of Kulu Valley below the Rohtang Pass. So on the map, that is where Kulu is. Let's go back to Kulu. It's fascinating, huh? What if so Vashisht is not happening? Yeah, so that's Manali Vashisht Temple and hot water springs. So this is the place. Are you able to see the screen? Yeah, so this is north of Kulu, and that's the place, by the way, where Baba went, and that's the hot spring by the sea, and that's where the contact was made. So just some context. Okay, Sunil, you in a position to read? Not yet. So let me continue.
2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. Haridwar, at one point in our stay in Dehradun, the Haridwar Mela occurred. This is a huge gathering of sadhus and sannyasis that is held at Haridwar every 12 years, and Baba wanted to be there for his work. We stayed for a couple of days in a hotel in Haridwar. All the houses in Haridwar look a little like cages for people as they all have bars on the window. And the reason they have these bars is to keep the monkeys out. The worst kind of monkey is the big red-faced monkey. They are vicious and like to steal food from houses, and Haridwar was infested with them. I remember that we ran out of boiled drinking water in Haridwar, and as Baba had told us not to drink tap water, girls got very, very thirsty. Baba had gone out for his work, and of course, we could not just go out and buy something to drink or even order drinks. It was now bedtime, and we were still wondering how we could sleep with such parched throats. Just gargle with the tap water and spit it out, Naja suggested. That will feel like having a drink. But at that moment, Baba returned with drinks for all of us. Baba always saw to our every need, and when the drinks were most needed, he brought them for us. Simla. So from Haridwar, Simla. And like he mentions here, it is the Mela. And if you remember, the mass contact with yogis was made in Haridwar. And in fact, Donkin talks about hundreds of sadhus that were contacted at Haridwar. So just as context, right? Uh, okay. We, oops, sorry.
Okay, Karthik, I'm ready anytime.
Yeah. So Yeah, I'll read for some more time. I think it's just going to be two of us, so I'll read some more time and then we can split it. Yeah. Simla. When Baba took us to Simla from Dehradun, it was Kitty's turn to accompany Baba. From the women's side went Mani, myself, Mehru, and Kitty. This is a holiday, Baba told us. We were there for about 10 days and it was very cold. In those days, the British used Simla as a hill station in the summer and it was very well kept with smart shops and houses. We stayed in a small Hindu hotel. Of course, being Hindu, it served only vegetarian food. But Hindu food is quite different from our kind of vegetarian food. So we enjoyed the change of diet. But what we enjoyed most was having Baba with us. He took us for long walks around Simla and he sometimes played cards with us. And one day, Baba very sweetly decided to give us a special treat. So he took us to see a play. The theater was small but very lovely with plush velvet seats, and I remember that we sat in the dress circle. Now, the point of the story is this. During the play, I noticed on a table on stage a beautiful white alabaster vase. There was something about its shape and color that appealed to me. When we got home, I commented to the girls, what a beautiful white alabaster vase that was on the stage. White vase, said Mani. There was no white vase, it was a lovely brass one. No, it was white, I told her. I am sure, because I admired it so much. So did I, Mani replied, and it was definitely brass. No, it wasn't. It was white alabaster. I insisted. No, I know it was brass. So we had a friendly squabble, and each of us was sure that she was right. Now, Kitty did not have our restrictions, and she was free to come and go in the town. The next day, she disappeared for a short time, and on her return, she told us that she had been to the theater to inquire about the color of the vase. Like that, she was very kind and thoughtful. Who was right? We eagerly asked. Well, Kitty told us, the manager said that for one half of the play, there had been a white vase on stage, and for the other half, a brass one. So we were both right. Talking of Kitty reminds me of her search for a Scotch Terrier while we were in Simla. Mani wanted a dog of that particular breed, and so Baba sent Kitty to make inquiries amongst the British there about Scotty puppies. She was very good at introducing herself to strangers, and she could comfortably chat to her newly made English friends about people their families knew, about dogs, and so on. But she did not find a Scotty puppy. It was Baba who found one a little later after we had returned to Pipi's bungalow in Dehradun. Baba found him when he was passing through Delhi for his must work, and he gave the puppy to Mani. This was the puppy we called Cracker. At the end of November 1946, before it got too cold, we left Dehradun with Baba and he took us to Mahabaleshwar, where we spent the next 6 months. Mahabaleshwar, Satara, and Mehera. This is 1947. On coming from Dehradun at the end of 1946, Baba rented the Aga Khan's bungalow, which was known as Florence Hall in Mahabaleshwar. We were to stay there with Baba a number of times. Florence Hall was a large, rather dark, two-story building, two-story bungalow, surrounded by forest and with a lovely view across the valleys and ranges of Mahabaleshwar. The photograph is that Cracker? We'll find out. Yes, Mehera and Meher Baba holding Cracker on the veranda of Florence Hall in Mahabaleshwar. Baba has a little toe hurt. He's got a bandage. But it's a beautiful building and both of them are looking gorgeous. Okay, this is worthy of being on our places. I have to continue from here. In those days, there were still tigers and panthers in the forest, and sometimes at night we heard them come very close to our house. The compound was quite big with a number of buildings in it. There was the main bungalow where Baba and we girls stayed, a separate place for the mandali, and some old stables a distance from our house where Baba set up his mast ashram. Baba's bedroom was upstairs in the main bungalow with an outside staircase leading to it. This made it very convenient for the comings and goings of the mandali on night watch for Baba. As I have said, Florence Hall was a rather dark place, and we would have liked a brighter, cozier bungalow. We did look at some houses while we were there, but we did not move as this one suited Baba's budget. Since this compound included 3 buildings, it was like renting 3 places for one rent. If Baba had had to rent these 3 separate places, it would have been too expensive. There were quite a few of us on our side: Mani, myself, Mehru, Goher, Katie, Naja, Khorshid, Sunamasi, Rano, and Kitty. Indu was still with us, and Katie, Khorshid, and Indu continued to take weekly turns with the cooking, as in Dehradun. The mast ashram was kept for the first couple of months we were in Mahabaleshwar, and Baba was very busy with his mas, working with them, bathing them, seeing to their food, and so on. One day, Baba had the men mandali leave, and he took us across the compound to see the mas. Baba, too, sometimes played badminton with us, and he allowed us to continue playing when he was away for his must work or darshan tours. Baba also told us to play volleyball, and we went for lots of walks, both with Baba and by ourselves, when Baba was away. We explored many of the quiet roads around Mahabaleshwar and went to the famous lookouts like Arthur's Seat. So Baba saw to it that we had plenty of exercise. As anyone who's been to Mahabaleshwar knows, there are many, many grey monkeys there. We discovered that they love to steal things from our house, so we had to be constantly alert to chase them away. Cracker was a very enthusiastic monkey chaser and a very big help with this. In Mahabaleshwar, I began a vegetable garden, and with Mehru's help, I grew lettuce, radishes, and tomatoes for salads. The monkeys enjoyed eating the tomatoes, so we had to move the plants closer to the house to keep a better watch over them and the monkeys. Satara. Towards the end of May 1947, Baba moved all of us from Mahabaleshwar to Satara. Baba never stayed in Mahabaleshwar beyond May, as in June the rains come and Mahabaleshwar has more than 300 inches of rain a year. During that season, the bungalows have to be protected with an extra covering of tin sheets or bamboo matting. Everything gets covered with mildew, and all the houses have to light fires to dry them out. Only those who live there and are used to this can stand all that mist and rain. Satara is at the foot of the mountain range on which Mahabaleshwar stands, and we were there this time for about 3 months. We stayed in a new bungalow called Muthas Bungalow, which we later returned to once during the new life. Again, this was a 2-story house, and Baba's bedroom was upstairs. Baba took another bungalow nearby for the mastashram that he kept during June and part of July, and 1 or 2 other cottages for the mandali. We liked Satara very much. The climate is lovely, not too hot and not too cold, with a good rainfall, and in those days it was very quiet. Baba was happy working with his mas, and sometimes he took us for walks. As always, I took care of Baba's room and his things, and with Mehru's help, I started another vegetable garden. There were no monkeys in Satara. In July 1947, Elizabeth and Norina arrived in Satara from America to be with us for the next 2 years. Norina's health was not good, so Baba arranged for a separate cottage for both of them. Dr. Goher joined us permanently here, and Baba had her stay in the cottage to look after Norina. I remember too that on Elizabeth's birthday, Mani put on a concert for her. Elizabeth brought with her, as a gift for Baba, 2 lovely DeSoto cars. They were more like station wagons than cars. One was green, the other blue. One day, Baba took a few of us few of us girls to Belgaum for a visit, and we traveled in one of these cars. By the end of July, Baba had disbanded the Mast ashram and was again gone on his Mast tours with the men. In late August 1947, we all returned to Meherabad with Baba for about 10 days. Then Mani, myself, Mehru, Goher, Naja, Elizabeth, and Norina went with Baba to stay at Mehrazad. Back to Mehrazad. We had been away from Mehrazad for nearly 1.5 years. Our living quarters were still quite cramped as the main bungalow had not yet been built. So Baba once again had to stay at Gyara's farmhouse. Mani, myself, Mehru, Goher, and Naja stayed in the small house which was later rebuilt into the main bungalow, and Norina and Elizabeth stayed in the cottage. Since our very first stay at Mehrazad in 1944, Baba had taken us girls for long walks in the surrounding countryside. Baba was always happy when walking and climbing, for he loved it. Sometimes Baba called the girls at Meherabad to join our excursions for the day. One time, Baba took all of us on a climb up that big hill behind Pimplegaon Lake. We all gathered at the foot of the hill and watched as Baba began to climb. Then we too climbed up, and what a lovely sight it was to see so many of us following Baba up that hill. At the top, we had a bird's eye view of the lake and the countryside, and we found not only a spring, but the most extraordinary thing up there, the ruins of an ancient building. This hill must have once been inhabited. On another day, we had a lovely outing visiting a tomb on a nearby hill where it is said a perfect master is buried, and Baba has also taken us to Khandoba Hill, the hill with a Hindu temple on it that is very close to Mehrazad. I am not good at heights, and in one place on that hill, I felt very giddy. Baba turned around and gave me his hand. Don't be afraid. Come on, hold tight, Baba told me. And he so sweetly guided me in such a way that my giddiness went. Baba did not go into the temple itself, but stayed on the outside. However, Baba has blessed that place with his presence, and how fortunate the villagers are who worship there and make a pilgrimage there at one time of the year. Baba was still often away on must tours, so we sewed and gardened and did our work. Then, at the end of 1947, Baba did his first seclusion on Seclusion Hill. Padri had built 2 cabins on top of the hill, one on the very top and one on the lower level. And one day Baba took us girls up the hill to see them. Norina and Elizabeth came too, and because of their health, we climbed up very, very slowly. Just before reaching Baba's cabin, there is a spot where it is very steep and narrow. As I have said, I cannot stand heights, and I began to feel quite giddy. Just as I put out my hands to steady myself, Baba turned around and found me on all fours. What's the matter? Baba asked. Baba, I'm feeling very frightened, I told him. And Baba held out his hand to me. Mehera, catch, catch. And with a strong pull, Baba pulled me up past that part of the hill. Baba asked me, feeling nice and safe? Yes, Baba, I replied. Then Baba took us to look inside his cabin. There was a chair inside, space enough for both a bed that was later brought up and for Baba to be able to sit on. The floor when he was working. Baba usually did his seclusion work seated on the floor, and there were 2 little windows. Norina had a small camera, and she took a photo of Baba and the cabin on Seclusion Hill. For this seclusion, which lasted, I think, 12 days, Baba stayed in the upper cabin, and he had a must from Meherabad stay in the lower one. During this seclusion, once or twice, Baba allowed Mani and me to go up to see him. In 1947 too, Baba started in 1947 too, Baba started taking us to Bombay to stay at Arnavas and Nariman's apartment, Ashiana. Baba told Arnavas that he wanted us to enjoy ourselves and for her to take us for picnics, sightseeing, to films, and so on. We sometimes wore her good saris, and so we had a lot of fun dressing up. In those days, Bombay was a very fine city and not very crowded at all. I especially remember one Independence Day celebration that we saw there. This was 1 January, but I do not recall which year. Arnavas took us to see the decorations in the city. All the important buildings were covered with little lights, which looked very lovely, and there were big crowds that day. I don't know January and Independence Day. It could be Republic Day, but then Republic Day should have been after 1952 or 1952. So we don't know. But that is what it is. Now, can I request Sunil to read?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, Jai Baba. We also have
Jai
Ashish,
Baba.
so you can do 20 minutes and then he can do 20.
Yeah.
Ashish, you can read as well, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Baba.
let me start first. Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Merazad, Rusi Pops, Ahmednagar, and Merazad housewarming 1948. We began the year at Merazad, but in February we all shifted to Rusi Pop's house in Ahmednagar, where we remained while the small house originally built on old foundation was being rebuilt into what is now the main bungalow. Baba had told me to design the alterations and additions wanted, and we all put much thought into it. We added an upper floor in order that Baba would have his own rooms with an outside staircase, so the Mandli on watch could freely come and go. As I have said up to now, when we were at Meherazad, Baba stayed mostly at Gayara's farmhouse. For Baba's comfort, one of the aspects we gave much attention to was air circulation in the house. It was so hot here in the summer months, but because of careful planning, we can draw the cooler breezes through the house on hot summer nights. Of course, during the heat of the day, we kept the doors and windows closed to shut the night air in and the heat of the sun out.
Another photograph. I think this is Meherazad.
Meherazad.
Yeah, Meherazad in the
late 40s.
Late 40s. Lovely.
Mm.
Full perspective is like this. So it's a garden party of some sort. Baba is wearing garlands, so maybe there's a crowd. But nice photograph.
Multiple chairs there. Table.
Some sort of celebration or afternoon party. Because the sun is visible. So it's either morning or afternoon, some high tea. Anyway.
Right.
Continue.
Lucy Pop's bungalow in those days was very spacious and pleasant. Lucy Pop and those of his family that were with him had moved out for Baba and were staying with friends in Ahmednagar. Mani, myself, Gohar, and Mehru were joined by Norina and Elizabeth, and sometimes by others. The Mandli stayed somewhere nearby in an old ice factory. Baba was away much of the time on his must tours and work with the poor. So much Baba traveled that year from Girnar in the west to Calcutta in the east, from Himalayas in the north to Madras in the south, never sparing himself. And he did not travel in comfortable taxis, but in third-class trains and crowded buses. At this time, Baba gave his lovers all over the world the chance of keeping one of the several orders, such as keeping silence, having only one meal a day, and certain other things for nearly a month. Baba had told us that we were to have only one meal a day, so we had less cooking to do at Rusi Pop's. Once we got used to having just afternoon meal, we found that we liked to have the extra free time in the evening that would have spent cooking and eating. While we were there, Money was busy typing Dr. Donkin's book, The Wayfarers. Donkin had beautifully drawn a big map of India showing the places where Baba had contacted Mus. Donkin was a meticulous person, and when the printer made some printing mistakes on the map, Baba gave them to us to correct. There must have been 1,000 of these maps, and we very carefully corrected, each one. Talking of Donkin reminds me of a little bird we found one day when Baba was with us. He was back from his past work for a short time. This day there was a strong wind blowing, and it was shaking the branches on the trees in our compound. Suddenly a little bird fell from its nest on a very slender branch. We could not reach the nest to pull it back, so we decided to keep it. At that point, Dr. Donkin came to another room in the house to talk to Money about the wayfarers. So I called Money and told her to ask Dr. Donkin what we should feed this bird, which was a baby golden oriole. Just a worm or two, Donkin told Money. We were very pleased to hear that it would be so easy to feed. The long and short of it is that a worm or two was not enough at all. We dug up buckets of worms for this bird and had our sweeper dig them up too. We had brought up many birds before, but never one could eat so many worms, and Baba would feed it with his own hands. So as soon as he stepped into the room, when we had just fed it, the bird would cry louder than ever for food.
So I thought we'll take a pause and take a look at. I think the golden oriole is a very, very small bird. So I can imagine Mehera's eating. See, look at that. It's a very, very small bird. It's local to India, very beautiful. But yeah, I'm surprised that it was eating so much. And the next thing I wanted to check was 1948 Girnar. So it's Girnar, Calcutta, and Chennai, right? Yeah, 1948. So this was Junagadh, Baba, and this man, and then one of the summits at Girnar. So this is November. It's matching with the dates. So from there, Baba went to Delhi. Delhi, Ajmer, Baroda, and so on. Okay, let's go back. Yeah.
Why aren't you feeding it? Why have you let it go hungry? Baba would ask us. But we just fed it, Baba, we would explain. Then it's not enough, Baba said, and he would feed it himself. This baby bird was very fortunate to be fed with Baba's own hand. It grew up to be a lovely golden oriole. When it was completely grown and had practiced flying around inside the house, Baba said, now we must set it free in the garden so it can fly in the open air. One afternoon, we carefully checked to see that there were no crows about, and we brought this bird outside. Baba took it in his hands and then let it go. Up in the trees it flew, while Baba watched with a smile. Baba was so happy to see this bird happy and free. How much Baba loved birds. He loved animals too, but most of all he loved humanity. Someone, perhaps it was a reporter in the early days when Baba visited England, asked Baba whether he had ever been in love. Yes, Baba replied, I'm always in love with humanity. And talking of animals reminds me that we had many dogs at Brucey Pop's. There was Cracker, Money, Scotty, Banjo, a little Dachshund, I don't know how to pronounce that Sarosh had given to Baba, Elizabeth's founding, Danny, a Great Dane Baba had given to Elizabeth, and a couple of dogs that belonged to Brucey Pop's family and lived in the bungalow. And Baba now found yet another dog to join his family. It was while we were at Brucey Pop's that Baba went again to find Mus in the Himalayas. One day, up in the mountains, a fluffy little puppy began to follow Baba. As Baba went along a very narrow mountain path with a steep precipice on one side, this little puppy who was playing around slipped and nearly fell to her death. But she was brave and clever, and she held on to the rocks with her two front paws. As she clung on to her life, she cried out, and Baba rushed back and pulled her up to safety. She was such a courageous and intelligent little puppy that Baba made inquiries about her and found the owner, who gave her to Baba. So Baba brought this little puppy back to Rusty Pops and showed her to us. And he gave her to Kaka Baria to bring up. Baba, knowing the future, knew that Kaka would be alone at Merazat for a long time, and this little puppy would become a fine watchdog and good companion for Kaka. She was a Tibetan Mastiff, and she grew into very beautiful dog, jet black, with white and brown markings on her feet as if she were wearing boots. Baba had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we read that, let's just quickly see these breeds. Dachshund is a German breed, I think. See them. Tibetan Mastiff first. It's a big dog. And very, very, I've seen the black ones. I didn't know these are also Tibetan Mastiffs. Then you have the Dachshund. It's a short breed. You must have seen it. It's a popular dog. Then you have the Great Dane, which again is a big breed. So this must have been quite a set of animals at the house. Yeah. Okay. So Baba had. Then we go to the next page.
Nicknamed her Golgo, which means round, Golgo, which means round, because she had been such a fat puppy, and now called her Booty because of the markings on her feet. And Booty gave birth to Mastan, Baba's most loved pet. Now to return to our stay at Rusi Pops, those of you who have been to Merazat might have noticed a mango tree near Eruch's room. One day, Baba came back to Rusi Pops from Bombay with some mango seeds. The mangoes had been given to him by Must in Bombay, and he had eaten the mango fruit and saved the seeds. Baba loved the Must very dearly, and they loved him, and he never threw anything away that they gave him. How lovely it would be if we could grow trees from mangoes that were given to Baba with so much love, I thought. So we got some flower pots and asked Baba to plant them himself. Baba so sweetly planted 7 seeds in 7 pots, and they all germinated. When we moved back to Merazat, we took these little saplings with us, and I planted them there. But barely a year later, we left for the new life, and while we were away, one died. Then in 1965, there was a very severe drought, and there was no water to spare at all, so 5 more died. Now there is one left, and every year it gives us the sweetest mangoes, which are Baba's prasad, because he had eaten the mango that gave the seed for the tree, and Baba had planted the seed with his own beautiful hands. Is this mango tree still there?
Yeah, so me, Sanjay, and Norm, as recently as Silence Day, had these mangoes, and there were bucket full of mangoes that this tree yielded, and they were like giving it to everybody. Everybody got two, and there were like three buses of people. Yeah,
Wow.
amazing.
This
Was it
was
Silence Day, Sanjay ji?
must be July, right?
Yeah, but I clearly remember we were all together and we all got these mangoes. I brought them back home actually. It was just the day of my departure. Yeah, I think it was
But
Silence Day.
but this is specifically the tree that Baba planted.
Yes, yes, they mentioned it. So, in fact, the way they mentioned it was this
Hmm.
is the must tree, but then it connects
Oh
because
yeah,
it's the mango that was given by the must, and then I didn't know that seven were planted, but only one
I
survived,
see.
and so on. So it's an interesting story.
Namita tells me she got one to Singapore and I ate one too. So I
See,
didn't realize.
but it was so sweet. It was small
Yeah.
ones, almost the size
Mm,
of plums, right? But very, very ripe and very sweet. I
right.
also, like a dutiful husband, in abject surrender, I brought it
Mm-hmm.
home and gave it to Nandini.
Nandini, good,
Yes.
good
Yeah.
husband. I remembered because
Love,
last week
surrender.
we were there
Yeah. Go
and
ahead.
there was a bunch of Serbians, you
Mhm.
know, over there, and we distributed oranges on the way back in the bus. Then he was
Okay.
saying, "When is the mango season?" So I didn't
Mm.
realize he was looking for that mango. So they were generally
Ah,
quiet and language issue. So one guy was an
okay.
interpreter, I think two, three others who were not conversant with English. So the
Okay.
interpreter asked, "When is the mango season?" So at that point, it
Mm.
didn't strike me he was looking for that mango. Must have been, he must have read about the mango tree. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometime in July 1948, Delia Delon and Jean Adriel came from West to be with Baba again after 10 years. They stayed for some time at Mehrabad and joined us at Rusi Pop's. At the end of August, just 7 months after we had left, our new house at Mehrazad was ready, and Baba had invitations sent to his lovers at Mehrabad, Ahmednagar, Pune, and Bombay for a housewarming. During the housewarming, the men all stayed on the men's side, and we women sat in the garden where a lunch of vadas, potato, wafers, and rava was served on leaf plates. On the front door of the new house was a big silver lock with a silver key, and after lunch, Baba turned the key and opened the lock. He then opened the door, and we all followed him inside. So we moved into our new house at Mehrazad. Baba's room was upstairs. Mani and myself, Mehru, Gohar, and Najab were in the new house, and Norina, Elizabeth, Delia, and Jean were in the cottage. Baba was there with us for a couple of months before he left Merazad for his work, and in the evenings we sat around him in our new drawing room. As I have said, Baba loved humor and jokes, and every morning he said to Westerners, "Now tell me a joke." It was not at all funny to have to tell a joke to Baba. It is not at all funny to have to tell a joke to Baba like that. Before long, Norina, Elizabeth, Delia, and Jean were running out of stories, and they began to get a little desperate. Somehow Delia managed to get a book of jokes, and this book gave jokes in alphabetical order. One of the four girls took from A to E, another from F to K, and so on. Every day they would memorize a joke from their section of the book and be ready for Baba to call on them in the evening. It all went very smoothly until Delia got cold and could not be with us for several days. When she again joined us, Baba called on her to tell a joke. "Oh yes, Baba," she happily said, and told him the joke in her section that she had just memorized. Baba did not look amused and told her, "I've heard that joke." "Oh dear, Baba," Delia said, "I'm so sorry." The next evening, same thing happened. Delia told the next joke in her section, and it seemed that Baba had heard this one too. Delia was very puzzled. Baba, I just can't understand it, she told him. But when it happened for the third evening, Delia suddenly realized that what had gone in her absence. Baba, someone has been stealing my jokes. We all knew who had been telling Delia's jokes, and Baba looked at Norina. Now, Norina had the section in the book which included tea, and nearly all the tea jokes were about little boy called Tommy. But Baba darling, Norina told Baba when he looked at her, what could I do? I was so tired of Tommy. One Tommy joke I still remember because Baba enjoyed it so much was this. A teacher asked her students, does anyone know where God is? Everyone except Tommy looked very blank, but Tommy's arm shot up. Yes, Tommy, do you know? Yes, miss, Tommy replied. He's in our bathroom. How can you say that? The teacher said, very surprised by his answer. Well, miss, every morning my father knocks on the bathroom door and says, oh Lord, are you still there? Are you still in there? Baba was with us, and so these days in our new house, we were very happy once. In October, Delia and Jean left India, and little later, Baba left for his mast work. But he was with us again at Merazad by end of the year.
So maybe it's a good time to switch reading
Oh yeah.
to Ashish, if you're okay. Ashish.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Merazad,
this is 1949. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
Merazad at Mount Abu, Merazad, 1949. In 1949, Baba gave us all a big surprise. For many, it was a great shock because this is the year that Baba began the new life. But at the beginning of the year, we knew nothing of that. We were just comfortably settled into our new house at Merazad when in early 1949, Baba took us to stay in Mount Abu for 3 months. Vengurla. I believe that on leaving Merazad for Mount Abu, Baba first took us for a short visit to seaside in bracket, or perhaps it was after our return from Mount Abu. As I have said, I never kept a diary bracket closed. Earlier in 1947, the Mandali had found a very beautiful government rest house at Vengurla, a small seaport on the west coast of India, south of Bombay, and Baba had taken a few of us there with him at that time. This time, Baba took money, myself, Mehru, Gohar, Katie, and Manu, and one or two of the main Mandali for a short stay. The dark bungalow was perched on a rocky cliff, jutting into the ocean, and day and night we could hear the ocean crashing against the rocks. Even the path up to the rest house was hewn from the rock itself. From our perch on the cliff, we watched the fishermen come and go in their boats. The sun set into the ocean and the moonlight play on the waves. It was so beautiful there. The manager of the rest house was a Muslim and a fine cook. Baba allowed us to eat everything while we were there, and a fish and a shellfish and curry and cutlets that this man made for us were so delicious that we did not know what to eat first. It was not possible to swim near the guest house. There was no beach there, just cliffs and rocks. But a little distance away was a very beautiful beach, long and golden, with coconut palms silhouetted against the sky and some low bushes back from the beach. And there was never a soul there, just Baba and us with Erach and perhaps Donkin. Donkin too, some distance away. How we enjoyed swimming there but Baba did not swim with us. And one day I said to him, "Why don't you go in a little way, Baba? It's so lovely. The salt water is very good for your legs." And Baba did agree to go into the water, but he hold, but he told us that we must not look at him. We turned away, and Baba went up the beach to where Erach was waiting, and Erach must have taken Baba out into the ocean for a short time. Mount Abu, March, April, May 1949. Baba took only money,
Which,
myself.
which place is this, Ashish? Sorry for interruption. Which place we are
Mhm.
talking of? This is somewhere near Goa.
No, Mount Abu is in Rajasthan.
Mount Abu.
No, no,
Mount Abu. We are
no,
talking
no.
of sea, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
there's no
that's
sea there.
Vengurla.
Yeah,
Vengurla is
sea.
I think.
Yeah. That's what I was
Yeah,
mentioning.
Yeah.
Vengurla
This
is
is the
near.
Somewhere in the
place where you
Karnataka,
have
right?
that.
Kan-
Yeah, you have that story of Iraj where he rescued Baba from drowning, and
Drowned.
then Baba told him that
Yes,
I'll.
yes.
Yeah, in Rajasthan there's no sea. So it's I think in the
No, this
Karnataka, near to
is
Karnataka. In Karnataka.
no. This is
Yeah,
Maharashtra,
this
but
this
it's
guest house
Konkan.
is still there. Yeah, this
Okay.
guest house is on the cliff is still there. I mean, if you Google it out, Vengurla, I think it's a government guest house or something. You will get that picture.
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah, Baba.
Guest house. Maybe that's the one. I don't know. We found the dark bungalow is traveler's bungalow, right? Or inspection bungalow. It depends on the period. Well, no. So anyway, that's
Yeah, we can find out. Some group had traveled to this place actually a few years back. That's what I remember, and they posted on the
okay.
WhatsApp group. Yeah, Baba.
Okay. But for the record, Vengurla is on the Maharashtrian coast, and it's Malwan Konkan area. So where is the nearest big town? So yeah, it's close. It's between. It's north of Goa. It's north of Goa, but technically in Maharashtra. It's very close to Goa. Okay,
Yeah.
please continue. So we're starting back from Mount Abu.
Yeah, Mount Abu, March, April, May 1949. Baba took only money, myself, Gohar, and Mehru onto Mount Abu. Mount Abu is a very beautiful hill station in Rajasthan. Yeah, this is about Rajasthan. Okay, Rajasthan, and while it is quite close to Ahmedabad, where it gets very hot, Mount Abu is situated inland at an altitude of nearly 4,000 feet, so it can get very cold. Baidul had chosen the house that was rented for us, and we thought his choice a little strange as it had roads passing it on all sides. We were like a little island in the middle of a sea of roads. Fortunately, there was hardly any traffic on them, and as the house had a wall around the garden, we were quite secluded and private. The house itself was old, and our furniture was also old and rickety, but we cleaned and dusted everything. So we were quite comfortable there. And somehow the atmosphere in Mount Abu was very beautiful. Baba told us that while we were there, we would not have to cook our food. Our food was to be sent to us, so we had very little work to do. Of course, I had Baba's thing to take care of, but as always during this must phase of Baba's work, he was often away on must tours. Baba had told us that we could take long walks and read books from the local library. Mani had much typing to do, but in March, when we arrived there, it was so cold in the mornings that Mani's fingers were too stiff to type. Never mind, she said. I will wait till 1 o'clock when it warms up. But at 1 o'clock, it had no warm up at all. It was as cold it had been in the morning. Mount Abu has that kind of climate. Before Baba left for his must work, he took us on walks to show us the roads and the routes to take when we were alone. While Mount Abu is hilly, the slopes are gradual and the roads were tiered. We saw very few people on the roads, just one or two passing by, as the season for hill stations had not yet begun. So while Baba was away, we had some lovely walks, and the cold air and exercise gave us very good appetites. But as we were not cooking, we had no food in the house at all, and we would be very hungry until our food arrived. After some time, Baba sent for Varu to join us, and we were happy to see her. She would make us chapatis, and in the evening, that was our luxury. Varu will not join us on our walks. Yeah, but
Okay, finish the line.
would lock herself in the house, do her work, and not let any servants in until we returned.
Mehera at
Me-
Mount Abu.
Mount Abu during travels. During
During
travels with Meher
travels with
Baba,
Meher Baba in 1949.
1949.
Beautiful photograph and a beautiful location. Mount Abu is, let's look it up on the map. It's in Rajasthan, but it's very, very high. I've been there. It's very, very beautiful. It's also uh, the architectural temple, Dilwada temple is there. And I think the Brahma Kumari's headquarters is there. Yeah, there it is. So
Last
it's
year, some
in the
Baba
Gujarat
lovers.
Rajasthan border.
I think last year some Baba lovers went there. Wherever Baba visited.
Yes,
I think
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
And I think same group is going to Sri Lanka December to visit some places where Baba went.
Oh, is it? Okay, nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, this must be the Siddharth Sharma,
Yeah,
Siddharth group,
yes,
Bombay.
yes, yeah, Bombay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, nice. When are they going?
I don't know exact dates, but sometime in the December, I think, November or some December or something.
Siddharth Verma.
Siddharth Verma, thank you. Yes. Dehradun, right? He's also from the hills.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, his father is from Dehradun. This guy is in Mumbai, and he happens to be my kind of colony mate at my place.
Ah, okay.
So Sanjay, where you live in the Mumbai? Where you live in the Mumbai?
Kharghar in Navi Mumbai.
Yeah, I know Kharghar very well actually. I know it. Hiranandan and all is there.
Yes.
And thanks, Sanjay, for sharing this. So we were just reading about Valu. Valu is from, I don't know if it's Valu or Valu. She's from Arangaon.
We write
And
Valu, but the way Ashish was pronouncing is the Maharashtrian, the correct pronunciation actually. Valu.
Valu. Okay, so it's the
But when you
okay,
write in
Valu.
English, you write Valu actually.
Okay. So this is Valu, by the way. So Sanjay found this pic and shared on Telegram because Valu's name came even the last week's reading of this book. So this is Valu Pawar. right? Just for context. Oops, where is the book? Happened. I closed it. Okay.
Okay. On our walks,
Yeah.
we pass many bungalows with lovely gardens full of uh, journey, geraniums and petria. As most of these were the summer retreats for well-to-do people, they were still closed down, with just gardener and his wife left behind as a caretakers. Mani and Gohar chatted with these people, and they would then happily show us around the garden and the house. Our bungalow belonged to the Raja of Bijapur, and here I first saw wisteria and jacaranda trees. I love blue flowers, and when we left Mount Abu to return to Merazat, the gardener very kindly gave me some wisteria, petria, and geranium cuttings, and even some jaca- jacaranda saplings. It was too hot in the Merazat for the wisteria, and the geranium had not bloomed by the time we left for the new life. The Petria wine also did not do well, so I sent it to Meher where there is more shelter, and it is still flourishing there. Meher where is this Meher
Is this
Exactly.
the Meher Nazar bookstore? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I feel. It's
Must be.
like, yeah, it's Baukulchuri's home, old home, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, Meher Nazar used to be his old home, is it? At the
I don't know, but
Upper
right now they're
Meherabad.
staying, right? Mehernath Culture is living there in the Meher I think. No?
Oh, okay. I thought he was living in the
This
trust
Meher
compound.
Nazar near Arangao, that is just recently built.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's
Meher
recent.
Nazar,
See, Meher
a lot of
Nazar,
people name their houses Meher Nazar. Even our colony in Arangao, my earlier house in the lower area was also Meher Nazar Society. So Meher Nazar is something
Meher,
common. Sure.
wait. No, Meher Nazar is where Ahmednagar Trust Office exists today, where all the chairman and everybody's sitting. That was
Ah,
Bhau
okay.
Kalsri's old
Okay.
home, and then he has moved Meher Nazar to near to Samadhi, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
place is called
Okay.
Trust Office.
right,
So the
right.
Kings Road address of the trust next to the petrol pump is what you're referring to,
Yes,
right, Sanjay?
yeah.
Sunil?
Yes.
So
We
that's
went
called
there
Trust
just
Compound
last
and
week.
also called Meher Nazar. Okay, got it.
Yeah, right. Used to be
But
called
the,
Meher
Okay.
Nazar before it became Trust Office, apparently. And Meher Nazar moved to near Samadhi.
yeah, yeah. The jacaranda tree is still where I planted it at Merazat, beside the door to Baba's bedroom. In this way, during our travel with Baba, I gathered plants from many different regions in India for the Merazat garden. One walk Baba had taken us on was past a well-known landmark called Nun's Rock. It is a natural rock formation that looks exactly like a nun in the habit, even down to the well on her face. We were fascinated by this perfect nun's image, and once when Baba had gone on tour, we decided to have a closer look at it. This rock is situated on the mountainside behind the tennis court of the Mount Abu Gymkhana in bracket sports club. We crossed the tennis court and came to a thick screen of trees. Though through this we scrambled, tearing our clothes on the thorny undergrowth until we were finally quite close to the nun. To our surprise, once we got close to the rock, we found that we could no longer see the nun at all. We had gone through all the effort only to discover that the nun could only be seen from a distance. One day, on our walks, when we tried to a new route, we passed a vegetable garden, and this vegetable garden I saw a very big lettuce. The gardener who tended these vegetable gardens was nearby, but I could not talk to him. So I told Money, we haven't had lettuce for a long time. Ask the gardener if he will sell it to us. So into the garden we went. Money spoke to the gardener, and he sold us this huge lettuce for very, very little. Now, since I had asked for it, when we set off, I was the one who carried it. But that lettuce was so heavy that quite soon I got very tired. One of the other took, one of the others took, One of the others took it, but they too quickly tired. So we passed it from one to the other. By now we had reached the town, and it looked very odd for people like us to be carrying a huge lettuce. When we finally got it home, I measured it, and it was so big that holding it in my arms, my fingers would not meet. That leaves were huge, huge too. We washed it, and I gave everyone only 2 leaves each. But no one could finish even 2 leaves. So instead of finishing it when it was still fresh, we had to eat that lettuce for days and days. One day, on still another walk on another new road, we came to a lovely, secluded cottage with a pretty garden. Gaur asked the caretaker to show it to us, and we liked it so much. Why did Baidul choose our house? We wondered. It's surrounded by roads, and Baba liked to be secluded. This cottage is perfect, and we decided to show it to Baba when he returned from his work. So when Baba was with us again, and it was a time for a walk, we took him in that direction. The caretaker let us in, and we showed Baba the cottage. Then Baba walked out into the front veranda, and before stepping into the sunny garden, he opened his umbrella, which he used to shade himself from the sun. But the point of Baba's umbrella struck a beehive in the ceiling, which none of us had noticed. All the angry bees flew straight at Baba. We were so frightened. The others tried to protect Baba by waving their scarves and whatever they had at these bees. I had a big felt that with a broad trim, and I kept lightly tapping Baba's back with this to keep the bees away. Baba went into the garden, and these bees followed us until we reached a fence which must have been their boundary. As at that point they turned back. Not a single bee had stung Baba, and we felt very happy that we had been able to shield and protect him. I then put my felt hat back on, but when I took it off later, what do you think happened? 2 bees flew out. They had been in my hat all that time. They had not even stung me. Apart from our walks and of course sewing, we read quite a few books. As I have mentioned, Baba at this time told me that I could read, and we found a lending library from which we took out the number of books. We kept one we kept once we enjoyed most for Baba, and Money would read to him when he came back. Once too, Baba took us to see a film at the Parsi Gymkhana near Nuns Rock. It was rather a silly film, and we did not go there again.
Okay, we'll stop. We've been past the time. Oh, perfect. So next is they leave from Mount Abu to Mehera. So I'll stop at this point, but I thought we'll see if there's Nun's Rock. So there it is. That's Nun's Rock. So you see the whale. So it's like a nun sitting down, and you also see her habit or the uh, veil dropping over her. So, Mehra said, when you go near, you will not be able to appreciate the likeness to the nun. So, this photograph gives you an idea of the size of the rock, and all this is at Mount Abu. Okay, so we will stop at this time. Any other points or any other thoughts before I stop recording? Okay, so if there's nothing else, we will stop at this time and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow as we continue sanskaras. Okay. 1 second. Stop.